Okay. See if this is working okay. I need to make sure I do the announcements. It's all up on time, thinking, yeah, I'm going to be plenty of time, get started the stream early. Yeah. What is it about best laid plans? Get my chat windows lined up. There you go. Okay. So, you know, get yourself a nice big desk. Thinking it's got plenty of space for your work, for your gaming, for your whatever. You realize you need a new, nice big desk. Okay, that's something completely different. That's for another day. Worry about that later. That later. Okay. Live chat. Yep. Yep. Okay. sans people today. Okay, so yesterday I did not get the time I wanted to get the refactoring done for the ad support ticket. That is going to come with migrations and extra pieces, and I kind of need to finish it. But right now, being that we are in the early phases of development, I do not need to worry so much about migrations as I need to worry about. So a ticket will have a status which will be an integer. I believe that Entity Framework 8 does a little better with enumerations. Default 0. I'm just doing it on the other screen so that I can I need the column there, right? And that's all I need. And ticket is updated, right? This is breaking because now we expect to pass in a status. So this test is kind of weak at this point. So yeah. Important things. Need to make sure I have breakfast lined up. Okay, so there's a few things I needed to do here. Yeah. So the first is, well, so it's failing because I'm not passing in the status, right? So if we just pass in a status of pending, right? Actually, we can't, right? If we can't pass in a status of pending, we can only pass in open, right? So we're already losing some definition in these unit tests just to be able to do that. That's not helpful. So the updated is going to be not good enough. In the application itself, adding a support ticket as pending needs to be done. So we need to go to ticket, and we need to. Does that actually support? I think EF Core 8 will support that. So that enumeration. Hang it. So if I move that enumeration further up, right, I then have to create an interim enumeration for my enumeration because I have to have one at this level, right? And I have to have one in my data layer. I'm going to go with that right there. Second, I want to see if that breaks anything. I don't think it will. I think my project somehow thinks that exists. So if I have ticket status here, right, I need ticket status at this level. But it's status. So again, we get into the organization of the code, which in models I don't necessarily like. Afternoon. I'm technically working, but have you in the background. Work from home today, so I can. Hi, Rambling Geek. That's perfectly fine by me. That's how I normally do my day-to-day work. People on in the background. Well, thank you for hanging out. Appreciate it. So this is ticket status is necessary because I have the model here, and status doesn't necessarily make any sense because status might mean all sorts of things. I run some code work related. To my shock, it seems to be working. I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Happens every day. On Saturday, I was writing. What was it, Saturday, Sunday, whenever it was. I was writing a load of code to do the Twitch bot webhooks, and I was just making it up as I went along. Wrote 100. I think I committed 102 files in one commit, and didn't run it once, and it ran first time. And so then you get a little bit more worried of, okay, it ran. Should it have run? Why didn't I hit any mistakes? So then you start looking for the problems where there probably aren't any right now. So yeah, it felt, once I let myself believe that I actually had achieved it, it felt very good. But even I was like, no, 100 and something files in one commit that hadn't been tested. No way that works. And for reference, I have since found some of the problem files in that commit that just weren't touched in that testing. So there were some issues in there, but they were very minor issues. But the overall process worked. Them taking the webhook and distributing out the event and deciding if this user knows about this event. So here's the thing. If I call this status, this is an enumeration, right? There's pending equals 0, open, in progress, closed, right? And this has status. This now has to do the same thing, right? Status dot pending. This is looking up file names from a DB, pulling them by ref type, renaming them. Nice. Yeah, that sort of stuff you just got to practice. You just got to work on doing more of. That's the bread and butter of what you do. Like, my favorite thing to do, if I'm honest, is write utility programs. It's to write programs to help people do things. It's one of the most satisfying pieces of development. And the irony is, considering what I stream about, it's not, you don't have to write the cleanest of code. You don't have to write nice reusable code all the time. Sometimes it's just about getting the job done and just learning new APIs for interacting with things. Because the customer wants the files back with the OG names. You're in one of those companies that is basically, oh, the customer wants this, let's give them this. Oh, the customer now wants this, let's give them this, and never stops and says, does the customer really need that? Can't we give him something else? Sadly, I've been there. I hope that one day I get the chance to actually have customers, and I am strong enough to say, no, you can't have that. Here's what you need. I'm delivering what you need, or what you asked for, not what you think you need. And I'm not, pardon me, and I'm not jumping through silly hoops to try and get your business. Not happening. I hope that's possible. I've seen it way too many times. Yeah. I think with that, you just got to make sure that the code you write is not is not super hacky, that it is that you when you see a pattern appear, right? When you see, oh, I've done this before, hold on, and you see another library that it in, take a little bit of time to pull that out into a shareable library of tools and utils, etc., and make your own repository of useful things, and keep growing on top of that. That way you learn from it, you improve the quality of subsequent, oh, I need to make up a little bit, subsequent projects, and probably speed them up in the long term as well. So you're winning all the way, even if you're sacrificing your I don't know if it's necessarily self-respect, but you're sacrificing something in saying, oh, I've got to do another customer project because another customer's demanding something else. Okay, so this here tends to make me think that this project is actually going to become about tickets. And this context will be the tickets context and focused solely on the tickets aspect of this database. But we're gonna leave it as is right now. I've made this as generic as possible. In theory, the methods I have made this can be used for any existing customer just by passing in the customer ID. There you go. Pretty much what you need to do. And I approached the thing on Friday. I approached that in. I'm sure you will test it though, one way or another. The thing on Friday, right? I approached that as if I would approach a normal util, right? I was like, okay, I don't exactly understand the pieces of what I'm being told. Let me build the code and evolve the code. I just sped up the evolution of that into a 3-4 hour stream, and just kind of moved it along at a rapid pace. But again, it was like throw stuff on the screen, like make it work, then keep iterating and keeping it tidy, and getting it tidier and tidier. And that's how I approach that one. Same way I would do for real. Okay, so this has to be fixed, right? We said yesterday that I'm going to be pragmatic in this respect, but this, as a user, should be able to assign a status to a ticket. When a ticket is created, it's default to pending. A user should be able to edit the ticket and assign a status, right? So this update path coming through the patch gets messy. I don't want to present pending as an option here because you can never set it to pending through this API, right? It's always open, in progress, or closed. Uh, I think I'll leave that as is, so we can update the status. Again, we don't have the assigned user, so we do need the assigned user to be able to change. Public GUID user identifier, again nullable because we want to make sure that we can choose not to pass it. Let's go in our command and add our GUID assigned user identifier. All right. Now ticket dot assigned user identifier equals command dot assigned user equals ticket dot. Right. So again, I want to make sure that I am setting the status as well. Equals command dot status. Now I didn't make that nullable. That's the problem. So this is nullable. So in the patch now, I can return null. And this takes request.details.user-identifier. Let's be explicit about this, right? This is assigned user identifier. Just to be very clear what I'm doing. Now we don't need to throw an exception here, because if we pass in null, then this is null. So at the very worst, it wouldn't change anything that's there. And update support ticket, ticket.status. So here's the challenge. My ticket status here is the one defined in my work items application tickets enum, right? I've converted that from this one, but I now need to do the same thing here, right? So this becomes a little harder to do accurately, because I've got to convert an enum to another enum after converting from another enum, which is messy. But the risk here is with calling them ticket status, etc., is I run the risk of alt entering or whatever shortcut your IDE uses, and basically including a reference in the wrong direction. Right, so I got to be very careful I don't do that here, because I could potentially add a reference to the API layer from my application layer, which would create a circular reference in this instance. I think Rider really does protect you against that, but it's possible. Okay, so I've got to do something similar. If I'm doing this correctly, right? I got to do something similar to this, right? So if it's not null, then ticket status, command status, switch. Dot value. Come on, give it me. Else ticket.status. There we go. But this is status. So that's not exactly clean to read. I don't like that. There's got to be a better way of handling the enums through the system. But what I'm trying to do is get to the point I need to get to for today, which is switching out an entire layer based upon Mr. Jolly's post in your Discord yesterday. We're going to see if we can do that in an hour and a half. Yeah. So if the author of... So there might be multitude of reasons why the person who created the framework would swap their framework out for another one, right? It could be that there's a recommendation to use fast endpoints, so that it's just like aligning with other people's expectations. It could be that it's just another sample, but it could also just be that it's more focused, as BBB said, right? It's a more focused approach to it, and has some things refined, and is just a more solid production level endpoint provider. And being that I am early on in the project, it does not make sense for me to not consider what it means to swap it out. So this is a unit test now, right? So my unit test is now broken again. the problem is when ticket is updated is now too light as a test, right? Because now I essentially have, and this is where the unit testing gets very hard. I essentially have in my ticket, in my testing style, I have a need for 1, 2, 3, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 unit tests, right? Or 5 sets of unit tests, right? Because, or at least 5, because I've got to test, okay, when the expected customer name has changed, the name has changed. When the description has changed, the description has changed, but the customer name is unchanged, right? So I've got all these different combinations I really need to test now, which with this unit testing style is actually a little bit more difficult than some might do in other ways, right? Because some might do when ticket is updated and then test all the variations in here, right? So each fact would actually be, okay, when I've only changed this value, only that value should change and the others should remain the same, right? But because of my unit testing style, I make this a little bit more lengthy, right? So when ticket is updated and customer name changed, right? So I'm gonna start with that. So basically what I can do is here I can say that becomes null, that becomes null, that becomes null, right? And that becomes null, right? So I'm documenting the intent, right? So I can remove that, I can remove that, right? Actually, no, I can't. I don't want to remove the. I only want to remove the expected, right? Private. I want to do private GUID, assign user identifier, and then no. So in this case, we need to do assign user identifier equals that. Last update is null. But we'll check for that as well. And status equals status dot pending. Okay, so our tests here are review date is unchanged, right? So that's review date, and I should probably make sure this is all original date added, right? So the review date is unchanged, the date added remains unchanged, the customer name has changed, the description remains unchanged, right? Original description. Last updated is set. That is a true fact. We do want to verify that part. And the status remains unchanged, right? So again, this should be assert.equal status dot pending result dot status, right? So let's run that unit test. So there we go. So work items tests concerning support tickets, right? Customer name unchanged. So again, because of the way I've done this, I've made kind of a challenging test thing, right? And that I'm going to end up with. Sorry. Morning. I'm finding interesting with the class name and the test classes. I've never seen like this way of naming test class. This naming convention is like function name to test. Yeah, kind of. And again, I'm not. It's something I'm kind of always open to changing, because it's just a kind of a way I've fallen into doing my unit tests, and that I kind of like the readability. Sometimes I'll actually, because of the amount of tests I'm about to write, I might actually write here when ticket is updated, right? And then move these up into here so that my class names become smaller, right? When customer name changed, when description changed, right? So concerning support tickets, when ticket is updated, when customer name changed, when description changed, right? So I have done that before, and I'm probably going to stick with that right this second. But yeah, that's kind of a pattern I just fell into doing. It doesn't always suit people, but I like it because the asserts are small in this style. So in this one, that goes away. Private const string expected description equals updated description. So here, review date is unchanged, date added remains unchanged, custom name remains unchanged, original customer name, description is changed, right? So we expect to see that. And because I've left everything else from the unit test copied and pasted, right? A run of this should fail if I so that should be null, and that should be expected description. Right? I'm passing in what I'm changing it to, and passing in null everything else. So I am documenting the API usage here a little bit through writing these tests. So, I suppose it doesn't actually. Yeah. Okay. So again, I now need to copy and paste that, and this is when the review date changed. So you get rid of expected description, and then we have private date, time, expected review date, add days, right? So review date is changed, and we have the expected review date in there now. Date added remains unchanged still, customer name remains unchanged, description remains unchanged, and this should be our original description. Basically, what could happen here is if someone assumes that I could pass in null and changes it, right? These unit tests will find that, right? So this would capture someone going in and changing the code to now allow me to null things out, right? Because they'd run the tests and the test would fail, and that would tell them that it was an intent for us to have concerning support tickets when customer name unchanged, when description changed, when review date changed. The extra folder doesn't get put there. Oh, the extra folder doesn't get put there because they didn't do this. refactor this, adjust namespaces. There we go. So now when I run, I should get an extra folder when ticket is updated. So I do get another nesting, right, of concerning support tickets. When ticket is updated, I get that extra nesting in the folder structure. So I just like to play around with this and make sure that I'm constantly reviewing. Okay, do I like this? Does it read right? Right. If you're coming into this application from the start, right? Oh, support tickets. Okay. When deleting ticket and ticket doesn't exist. When deleting ticket and the ticket does exist. When the ticket's added and it's not assigned, it is assigned. When the ticket is updated, when these things change, right, they change independently. So just more of building your confidence with what's happening, right? So this is when status changed. Right. So we get rid of that one again. So now we don't have status, original status equals pending, private status, expected status equals open. So review date is unchanged. Again, I'm going at this a little bit backwards because I've already written the code. I should have written these tests first, but I'm trying to make sure that right now I'm trying to make sure I don't move on from doing this without these tests in place to support me because I'm about to make a bigger change. So this will be expected status. Interesting. Is it a good idea to define all test constants in one class? I wouldn't say so because the test data should be relative. I mean, in this case, I'm copying and pasting, right? So I have done things like created base classes to define things in the past, but I find that a couple of things. Making sure your data is clear, not messing around with funny names and funny values, etc., is clear, is necessary, right? So you want to make sure that at all times you would know which data you've got, right? So realistically, I should call this original customer name and original description, because then if I see it and I shouldn't see it, then I've got a problem, right? The test data itself is kind of specific to the test it's running in. And if you try and make it generalized, then you're going to tie two tests together where they should be independent. So it's a lot of copy and paste or repetition sometimes, and you've got to be careful with that you review your test data. But I wouldn't create a test class with all the test data. Not without significant confidence that it is going to never be different. In this case, I'm changing. I'm changing these. Okay, so that's because they're nullable, right? Right. System is not assignable to tickets, ticket status. Okay, here's a fun one, right? This one is ticket status. Right? That's this one. No. I'm right. Yeah. Okay. Because I have the mapping, right? I do have original status, right? So this is original status. And I'm checking status is changed, and I should be expected status, right? This is good code, right? So I have the original status in here and the expected status in here, right? But I'm actually testing, not only am I testing that I only set this value here, I'm testing that I map it correctly, because this doesn't accept that status, right? This takes a ticket status of and I've got to align this to what I've said here, open, right? So this takes the API to the application layer mapping. The application layer then remaps that to the database mapping. So I have a chance for it to go wrong. So this actually then validates that that is going to map correctly. Or I should write a test to say when the status is open, I get open. When a status is, right, if I want supreme confidence there that I've not broken that code. So let's run that. The status is changed. We have all our things, right? And in each of these, I'm verifying that the last update is set. So last one is review date, customer name, description, status. Oh, we have one more to test. Assigned user. Let's just copy and paste. It's when assigned user is changed. So I need to go back and add assigned user as an actual check in there, right? Although I thought I had it. Original assigned. I never did a test for it. Okay. That's why. So we need to go back and change that. When assigned user is changed. Okay, so private GUID expected assigned user identifier. That goes away. And that's that. So review date is unchanged, date added remains unchanged, customer name remains unchanged, description remains unchanged, status remains unchanged. Original status. And yes, I realize that what I've done there is I've actually added in a different behavior in those newer tests than I had in the original tests, but the structure is still there, right? It's not going to hurt me too much. So we're going to make that null now, and then we're going to pass in expected assigned user identifier. So fact assigned user is changed. So we're going to do assert equal expected, right? So we're going to run that. Now we need to put this back in. We need to put this into the others, right? So there we go. That works. So we need the opposite of this in everything else, right? So we need to do assigned user is unchanged. And that needs to go into all these. Because we've written the code, right? We understand this, but if we were writing the code on the fly, these would be explored rules. These would be things we actually found as we were writing the code. Oh, we need to test for that. Oh, we need to test for that. As we're going. But there we go. So we now have, we've added 35 tests in a matter of 10, 15 minutes. but it does give me more confidence that the update is working as expected. I haven't even run the code yet, right? So let's add that. Patch will update status and assign user identifier. Add a unit test to cover updating one field at a time. Because I know that given I give it a value and it changes, and the other values don't change, I kind of know that it will change the right ones. So I'm willing to accept that right now I don't need to test, well, what if I update 2 fields at once? Does that work? I think that's an acceptable piece right this second. Quiet day today. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Considering yesterday I was like an average of almost 8 people, and there was a lively discussion around software. And today it's it's the ups and downs of streaming. You can never get used to it. So what I need to do now is test. This is getting ever longer. I'm starting to think that what I need to do. Yeah, unfortunately, I can only stream for 2 hours during the work week, and yeah, it's actually worthwhile. So all the videos I stream to YouTube as well. All the videos are up there on YouTube. It's worthwhile from a discussion perspective. Browsing through that, if you're interested, there was some actually good discussion about things. On being pragmatic, on being opinionated. Yeah, there was some good stuff yesterday. It was fun. What I'm trying to contemplate right now is, okay, so let me go through what I need to do to test this, right? So what I need to do to test is I need to run the application up. I need to make sure I have a user. I'm going to keep Insomnia off to the side for right a second, because it's just... So I go to tenant management. Do you hear sound from the... Do you hear the bings on the computer? I don't think you should do. I don't think you should get dev PC audio. Okay. You'd know it because it was binging hard in my ear then. Okay, so we have Maria. Okay, so to test this, right, I need to go into my little placeholder login app. I open that login app up, right? I log in. Plus Maria, and then we have our password. Not now. So Maria's logged in, right? So now I'm going to refresh that page just so I can get that token. So I copy that token, and then I go over to, I need to go to tickets, and I need to add a new ticket assigned to. So I need to add a ticket, paste the bearer token in, right? I need to go and assign user. I want to assign it to Maria. So I need to know, right? Oh, Maria's not in this database. Awesome. So let's not do an assigned ticket. Let's do an unassigned ticket. Okay, so if I create a new ticket, does that still work? No, it doesn't. Validation failed. Review date must be greater than. Okay. 24/01/22. Okay, so I have a ticket, right? Yes, I know you're not seeing it, but it's fine. So here we go. So here's my new ticket, right? And I should have a 0 status. Now I'll drag this over. And we need to go a patch. So we're going to remove this. We're going to get the ticket identifier. Not the tenant identifier, the ticket ID. Tickets. Oh. What? Yeah, oh, hold on. Yeah, it will work. It will work. It's because it's ticket ID 2. I've changed it out in the API. Hi, Jaime. How are you doing? So let's do. Need to make sure we're matching our object here. So for those joining in YouTube, if you're still hanging around, how did you find the stream? Right, because I have had people come in, and I do not understand how discovery works in YouTube for finding streams. Like in Twitch, I can go to the software development or the software game programming and find streams, and it's a select list. But in YouTube, it seems much harder to find. So if you're hanging out in the YouTube, I would be interested to know, how did you find the stream, and how easy is it? Work items. Okay, so work items API, I'm going to do a patch, right? And I'm going to pass up the status. Yeah, I called it status. So we're going to go here and do status, and this will be, we'll make it 1, right? Unable to cast object of type system byte to system int 32. So that got all the way to SQL. So how do I do that? So if we go into the data, models, ticket, I did that. Now, is that because my data column in what data type is an enum in SQL Server from C#? I'm finding, if I type that in, I get results from 2012. Are you telling me there's no one looked for best method to store an enum in 2020 and beyond, right? Like I'm finding results from 10, 12 years ago here, and there's nothing. Yeah. Ask the intern. Um, .NET 8, .NET Core, Entity Framework, Core 8, enum. Nope, it's top result. Entity Framework, Core 8, enum. Top result 5 years ago. House size. Medium. Upgrade. Nope. GPT it is. How do I store an enum in the database using Entity Framework Core 8.0? Problem is, ChatGPT only has knowledge from last year, right? Oh look, status. Isn't that interesting? So that's giving me a conversion, and I'm pretty sure in .NET 8 it's actually supported. And that's the challenge with using something like ChatGPT for dev stuff. Is it is I think version 4 is newer. How do I store an enum database using Entity Framework Core 8.0? So it's an updated model. Okay. What? I don't want to do that. So you're telling me that I need to specify a string conversion. No. So they're saying it will work. So did I choose the wrong data type is the question. Status, I made it a tiny int, which should be fine. There's no way that's a problem. What? df. What? Oh, because I've added a default. There's a default on it. Okay. Edit data. No. Modify table. We're going to drop the column and add it back. Delete. Modify table. Columns. So in MySQL, you can reorganize columns. It allows you to inject columns before other columns, etc. SQL Server does not support that. So if the order bugs you, then so basically what I'll do is when I've got this working, I will create a script and put it in the right order so that when I actually create it for real. Force refactoring. Yeah, refactor. Okay, there we go. Status 1. So I have to choose a data type that is massive to store an enumeration in, but the enumerations are likely to be. I suppose if I was using flags, it wouldn't know the difference, and I could have dozens of flags which run me up into high numbers. So if I was using, if I was using, say, 12 or 13 different flags, and I was using 1, 2, 4, 8, etc., the combination of those numbers could be pretty big. So a tiny int wouldn't be able to store it. So at least this way I can convert. It's just waste for what will be 0, 1, 2, or 3. So we should be able to do something similar here. We should be able to do description is, this is an updated description. Be able to send that. And now that should change just that, but this rest changes. We should be able to say not much else. Let's T23 can change description, customer name, T23 name change, review date 2024 01/23. Name changed, description changed, review date changed. So there we go. We have that in place. But again, I have to jump through quite a few hoops just to test that, right? So I think I'm going to have to do some studying. I actually saw another post. So I'm relying on Milan quite a lot recently, it seems, to kind of prompt me to learn some things. But he did post something about. So when you're doing unit testing, you're testing that given certain parameters, your code does what it should, what's expected of it, right? When you want to test a database, some people use an in-memory collection or an in-memory database. That is not sufficient to test the database. That is sufficient to test that your code works pretending it's a database, but it's never real, right? It can't be done. So he actually testing containers, is it? There's a project, test containers, that he was working on, and you can just create a new container. So you can hook this into your test code and basically spool up a migrated database and run integration tests. So I think I'm going to do some reading up and studying on this, and then probably do a stream in the near future of how to do this. Because I think this is the sort of stuff that is very useful for most of us. Now the challenge is, it uses Docker, right? So if you're working in an organization, you have to make sure you are licensed for Docker these days. So it's not just sufficient to download Docker Desktop and go with it. But yeah, he used test containers, I think it was, to do the testing. So I think we'll definitely do some research into that in the near future. Yeah. So if you're in a small company, yeah, you're fine. But there is some sort of threshold on what it means to be allowed to use Docker in a corporate environment. So unfortunately, my work is above that threshold, so I can't use Docker on a daily basis. So let's push this and we'll get to actually what I wanted to do today. So coming up over the next couple of days, weeks, I will do more of this development. There will be more pieces changed. There'll be more additions to this process, bit by bit by bit. I will be working on some bot code in the next couple of days. This weekend, I probably will do a stream on bot stuff. I am about to complete the webhook implementation, so I'm going to put in things like, notifications, etc. there, and hook that code and actually get my bot up and running again. I'm working on what feels a bit hacky. Yeah, nice. I'm gonna share merging this. Merge that into development. But yeah, the bot stuff is not something I like working on stream all the time. It's a little hard to describe, but I have been implementing the entire webhook layer, and had the events working using the CLI to test the events. That's felt really good. So in this, we also did our refactoring, our reorganization of the code. We've got all our unit tests in there. So I'll probably be doing a stream on the weekend regarding the bot and getting that hooked in. I do have some ideas on cool things to do with the bot and get that hooked into the stream. Let's create a pull request. Make sure that passes. So CI/CD it is running, right? Unit tests are running here. So I can be confident that 53, 19, 6, 7, the unit tests that I'm building bit by bit by bit are working. Show all checks. So that is part of the merge now. So I can't do a merge if my tests are failing. So let's confirm that. Delete that branch. Check out development. Update that. Delete that local branch. Okay, so the actual thing I wanted to stream about today. I didn't get the time to do that yesterday, so I do apologize for taking so long doing that piece, but I think it was actually quite useful in the end, and I'm more confident that's working now. So yesterday I was pointed towards a change. Come on, over there. Go over there. Right. GitHub clean architecture. So clean architecture is a project by Ardalis, who I use for API endpoints, I use for result, I use for specification. So a lot of code that this gentleman has built over time that I really kind of rely upon, and I enjoy using. But it was pointed out yesterday that in here, this project, we now have the option of using fast endpoints. Or rather, we now have the option of using Ardalis's endpoints, but the default is now fast endpoints, right? So fast endpoints is a library focused on building API endpoints in a similar style. A lot of developers are working on it, so it is actively maintained. And this I don't so much care about, right? I don't necessarily care. I don't think that what I'm doing is is in any way slow with Ardalis endpoints, but the fact that Ardalis is willing to switch this in as the primary API endpoint library for clean architecture suggests that they've got it a little bit more focused and a little bit more. So, I mean, 40 microseconds mean head to head. I mean, this means nothing if the data load, if my code is bad, right? But being that I'm early on in the project, being that I still have a long way to go, it would be foolish of me not to assess using a more focused library. So Steve Smith, Ardalis, he develops software. He's a contractor. He's an author. He's a producer of content for places like Pluralsight, right? He does all sorts from architecture to DDD, etc. It doesn't mean that his library focus is when he has time or when he needs to fix something. So I think that it's important that I kind of choose the tooling that is best going to support my future use case. Now, I've used the Ardalis endpoints library for several years now and had no issues with it. Taken apps to production with it as well. So it's not like it's completely random that I'm doing this, but it was completely unsuitable. This stuff worries me that it's kind of hooked straight in. But I think that's kind of the pattern that people are going for, right? They're kind of creating these requests and then mapping it's similar to what I'm doing anyway. Yeah, it's a publish order created. So that's going to the order repo. I don't like this doing it in the endpoint, but yeah. So what's different about this, right? So immediately I can see there's some differences in style. So where am I going to struggle? I'm going to struggle with authorization. The syntax looks similar. But you kind of give it, hey, my request, my response, rather than endpoint based async with request, with response, etc. So that style is a bit different. You kind of configure your HTTP method in here, so this is still built in the same kind of way. We have some pre-processing available to us, so we can actually put stuff in between, which is nice. Rate limiting, yes. We can actually do at the configurable there. Response caching, we'll worry about that later. That'll be a whole different challenge. I'm kind of the way I'm doing this is I'm not trying to get squirreled on necessarily every possible use of the technology and every possible use case of the technology first. I want an application, so I'm going to build towards the application. This makes sense to swap out if it's simple, because I'm so early on that it won't create a significant amount of work, but it will give me all the benefits, and I know that it's necessary. Similar to the Couchbase SQL thing, but things like caching, things like rate limiting, all those sorts of things, I'm going to use as an excuse to show, here's what it is to add into an existing application. Here's how difficult it is, here's the challenges I'm going to come up against, because that's the more realistic use case. And I don't know what I need to optimize for until I get there. So I'd rather have an application that is working and then needs to be rate limited than I would worry about rate limiting and spend significant amounts of time tweaking and coming up against problems with that, than I would try and get them in there. So yeah, we can worry about caching and all those things later. Okay, so that's funny. So I worried about this the other week, right? I added some code and I took a dependency on Fluent Validation. I'm like, it feels awful. Oh, I actually did it on Kafka as well, right? With the Kafka library. And I'm like, it feels bad to have a dependency on someone else's NuGet package or someone else's package. Like it would be nice to just have the abstractions layer piece, right? Rather than the full library. But this takes a full dependency on the Fluent Validation, so that's okay. So let's do this. Let's get started. So I'm gonna. That's done, right? I'm gonna be a bad developer and write switch API endpoints for fast endpoints. A more focused and library for endpoints is available in fast endpoints. This is a good time to switch this out. Okay, so I'm going to create that. And here's how I'm going to do this. So T25, new branch feature, T25, fast endpoints, swap. Okay, so here's how I'm actually going to achieve this. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to remove add RS API endpoints. So you see, I've only got 3 projects affected by this, right? Now my code's going to be on the floor crying. So, ran out of coffee this morning. Oh no. That's not good. Disaster until I go to the grocery store to buy more, yeah. So, we're going to assume we do fast endpoints. And then we're going to need that in Teams. Teams isn't really necessary, but being that it's like, right now it's a dummy project. I really shouldn't leave it laying around, but it's not harming very much right now. So, okay, so we're going to put that in there. Now our code's still going to be broken. Well, good morning, Doctor. Other than the coffee dilemma, I hope you're okay. Is there a speed advantage to storing things as bytes? Not that I know of. Well, depends on how you're reading it, I suppose. If you're having to do anything in between, I mean, everything's stored as bits of data eventually, but in terms of what, like passing it around, or actually storing it, reading from a file system. It's more down to again the reader that's involved. I mean, what you want to do with it, right? If you're serializing it, right? Okay, so you're trying to store the fastest thing. So here's what I'd recommend. I would new solution. I would create a stream demo benchmarks. What I would do is I create a new project. So anything I'm going to tell you right this second is going to be kind of not necessarily hearsay, but more without great context, right? So I go here, I go and do benchmark.net. I then say, okay, let's create a class called simple file writer. And how do you do this? You do this through public void write string, right? Something like that. And what I would do is I would write all text, super Cali, whatever, blah, 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 right? And then I think it's benchmark. I'd do it that way. And then you can get the benchmark runner in here and write and do it all the different ways you can figure it out and see which one actually comes out on top. So ultimately, it's not about storing it as bytes because you're not going to store it as bytes. It's what tool you're using to actually store. So if you so I would imagine from doing some of this, binary reader or binary writer is going to be the quickest, right? There's all manner of different ways of writing data to disk in C#. You got stream writers, binary writers, file. I don't think a file writer is a thing, but file streams. Yeah, file streams. So they're all nested somewhere in the line. I would imagine this is the lowest one, but that will take the most to get the data converted into it. So I would really consider writing some benchmarks and seeing which one works for you, and because you can test same result and it'll run it thousands of times and give you some stats on memory allocations and all sorts. Because it's not just about getting the data in and out of the file, is it? It's getting the data in and out and stored in a meaningful format. So that's how I'd learn that. I would say go do that and it give you some information that you'll then have available to you for forever. Okay, so endpoints. So obviously we've removed our DOS endpoints, but we do have all the structure for what we need here, right? Is there, if we go to fast endpoints, the cookbook? No. I mean, it does. The good news is it does look like there's lots of documentation on how to do this, right? There's lots of examples. There's lots of, here's some pitfalls, right? So we need to do builder services add fast endpoints, right? So we need to go back over here. And that's now gone. Okay. Let's add fast endpoints. And we also need to use fast endpoints. Then we need to go and define an endpoint. Okay, so let's go over here. This is going to be an endpoint that takes parameters, post.parameters, and gives post.result. That goes away. That goes away. That goes away. Okay, they don't define that. That totally bought. Oh, goodness me. Now I'm fine. So this is kind of in the wheelhouse of they've changed, they've overridden even MVC behavior stuff, right? So I have none of that stuff available to me. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Okay, so await send async. New response. Right. But I want to send a response. Your example has a response. Oh. No. What? No, 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 no. No, sorry. That's not reading very correctly. Getting started. Add a request, add a endpoint class. Oh. So we need public override configure where we do post register. We don't have that namespace available anymore. So I don't, that's kind of like okay, that means if we move it around, it's going to be stuck. So that might be a challenge, but we still have our workflow, but I'm now concerned because the way they do this is a little bit different, right? So they have this, right? We don't care about that this second. Then they do await send async result response. Oh, okay. So that's actually the response. Okay, so post result. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to assume those are valid, right? The data annotations are still valid, right? So we send, this is the response back, right? So their example doesn't do anything, even though it's posting data, right? So the logic is there still. Assigning a new, so response. So what does this do? Response dot. So response equals new result. What is result here though? Result is a message. we don't have. So type results again. Results. Sending responses, endpoint types. There are 4 different endpoint base types you can learn from. T-request uses this as only request DTO. Endpoint uses type if you both request and response details. The benefit of this generic overload is that you get strongly typed access to properties of the DTO when doing integration testing and validations. Endpoint without request, endpoint without request. T-response. If there's no request, it's also possible to define endpoints with empty request and empty response. Sending responses. There are multiple response sending methods you can use. It is also possible to simply populate the response property of the endpoint and get a 200 OK response with the value of the response property serialized in the body. Oh joy. This is not like swapping out Couchbase. I'm sure this will feel cleaner. But what I'm worried about right now is like we're not. So we're saying that we can return problem details. Let's try that. So this can be results. And this can be okay that, which is a HTTP results type. Or it can be bad request. So what does that mean? So is that return? Why is that returning then? Oh, because I can actually override that now. Sorry for the flicking back and forth. I do apologize. I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is with this. So I can give it a typed result, or I can actually do the await. Just not sure I like the idea of there being multiple ways of doing. So they're saying that, okay, I can do okay post.result or a bad request. Right? But where does that signature come from? Execute async. Execute async. Where does that come from? where does execute async come from over handle async? Fast endpoints also supports this strategy simply by setting the response DTO to the endpoint's generic parameter to the desired union type and overriding the execute async handler instead of the usual handle async. Okay. So let's do that. So one of the things I liked about the Adalis library is the fact that it's pretty much out of the box defined, right? So you add the types and it's just there. This requires me to do a little bit more and understand a little bit more about why I'm implementing things. So the consistency isn't necessarily there. Right, so that's what that wants. Right. I'm going to need async. And if request. Please don't. A password not equal to request. Okay, firm password. Return types results dot add request. Oh, don't like that. That's pretty much fair. I don't want to do it anyway. Otherwise, let's paste that in there. I'd rather do that than have CT and rec passed around. It's just, to me, that's more readable. Okay, so now we do return is success, type results, okay. So I don't know why I don't need that result class, right? That's the challenge there. So what does that take? Okay, t value. Okay, so that's why that needs. Okay, that's the results. Really? The structure matters? That seems. Because that means that's new result success message. That's just, I don't know, that feels. Yeah. I noticed these type results. I was doing this yesterday. Okay, so we do have a post that is in theory working. Right. I prefer putting these in nested inside the endpoint because they're not used outside. They're translated in here and they're injected into here. So I kind of prefer this method. Exy, thank you for the raid. Welcome. Welcome. Hope you're well. How was your stream? Full Start Live, thank you very much for the follow. Hello. How are you doing? It's you joined me on you joined me on a refactoring struggle. So yeah, what were you doing today, Exy? What's the right way to do this now? If I shout out, we gotta get some automation in here for this. Getting annoyed by NeoVim and installing Golang. That's joy. That's that sounds like a struggle. So, I am currently working on my Agile project management tool, right? This tool, this platform is aimed at being treated like a real product, right? It might not be, it might become one. My hope would be that it would. But I am trying to build out the platform from the ground up, and I'm taking the opportunity where necessary to review the technologies I'm using and swap out appropriate technologies as I go. Kind of trying to demonstrate my whole approach to software development, which is, don't be afraid to change it, right? Seems today I should have been more afraid to change it. So I have been using Steve Smith or Ardalis's API endpoints for a couple of years now, and I like the patterns. I like the way the code reads. I like the way it's structured. It gets me away from MVC controllers, etc. So I'm a big fan. But it looks like he may be moving away from using that primarily. His recent clean architecture updates shift to using fast endpoints over Ardalis endpoints or API endpoints, which might not be. I don't have any evidence to say that there's a performance issue or there's problems, but the simple fact is that library is the Ardalis API endpoints library is not a sole focus, right? It is a library that supports doing something that he needs, and yes, there are issues reported against it. Yes, he fixes things. Yes, he has definitely improved things over time, and he's kept it up to date. But this fast endpoints library is a little bit more thought out and a little bit more supported, etc. So, being that I am pretty early on in the overall project, I'm taking the opportunity to switch it out and see how it works. So what I've done is I've just literally uninstalled Ardalis endpoints and installed fast endpoints, and now I'm learning some pain. There's things that just aren't the same in this, right? So with the Ardalis stuff, you use attributes, so you'd use like HTTP post, and you'd put the route in there. With this, you define the route as an actual method. You have different requests based upon how you want to deal with the response. And there's a whole lot of stuff discussing event bus and command bus, etc. So I think that I've got a little bit more to learn there. But for right now, I can stay basic and get this working. Then I can build into those pieces as I grow, right? I can make sure they're there. So I'm just going to migrate the existing methods. That's a good point. So the pattern I follow for these is I kind of create an endpoints folder, and then I create it's not use cases, but it's similar. And then I use the verbs to describe the API endpoints, so it's nice and easy to get to. Not aiming to do anything regarding, and in the name of speed, I'm going to delete the ones where I don't actually have anything. So I'm not trying to create a RESTful API. I'm not trying to put some opinions around that. So, yeah. Okay, so we take this out. We put in endpoint without response. No, you're going to let me do that, aren't you? Getting started. There was an endpoint without response. That's what there was. Sending responses, union types. Endpoint without request. Oh, there's one without request, but there's not one without response. Okay. So I can take that, and I can do post dot parameters. No, it's this post dot parameters I want. Using fast endpoints. Okay, so we're going to get into some new stuff here, it looks like. So let's figure this out. So public override configure, and then we do post, and that is now users. You have an authorize. No. Policy. But where's that method defined? Is that a fast endpoint? Yes, it is. Okay, so it looks like we do policies.support user. Oh no, no. So I've created these classes to kind of neaten this up and stop magic strings being littered through the code. But I've called it policies, which now conflicts with this policies. So now I'm going to have to create an alias for right a second. Application policies equals policies dot support user. Where are you defined? I think you're in shared identity. Yeah, for right now they're in here. Extensions, identity, policies.support user. So we should be able to do application policies.support user. Again, just a way of getting rid of magic strings. And right now, I'm not paying attention, or I'm paying attention to the organization, but I'm not worrying too much about my namespaces, etc. These are all things that can change later. You know, the structure of the application as I build it is, I do not need to know everything. So I do treat it in a fluid way. So that is the goal. So as always, if anybody's got any questions about what I'm doing and opinions on what I'm doing, right? If you feel I'm making a mistake with something, it's okay to share. It's okay to discuss. I'm here to learn as much as I am to do. I don't believe I know everything. I am just making it up as I go along. So feel free if you want to discuss what I'm doing or ask questions. So in here, I do the validator. That works fine. That's still good. That is going to cause a problem. So post parameters, our response then is going to be a result. Oof. See, the problem is now I have our Dallas's results library in here as well. So I have conflicting names on conflicting things. This is going to, I have to pay close attention to what I'm doing here. So this would be results would be a, I kind of do typed, can't do it that way, right? Cannot really use a static type arguments. Okay, so that's because it's a static, yeah. Okay, that's still valid overall. Validation failures, yeah. But it doesn't like about that is I've not got the return type specified. Can I do action result there? Yes, I can. Okay. So again, I'm just going to kind of learn my way around. See, that isn't available because now my I'm not in the MVC world, right? I'm in this opinionated, different structure. So, but typed results, not bad request. That is not. That's a bad request of T value. That's not a. So this is then results okay string, which doesn't work, I don't think, or bad request string. You can't do that. Oh, you can't do. Okay. But that's not that. That's validation failure. INumerable validation failure. That doesn't accept that. Cannot convert bad request of list of validation failure to return action result. Okay. Oh, because I'm not. Okay, now give me the error. Can I convert expression list to return? Okay, that's how I did it before though, right? So it's results. No, it wasn't. That worked in this request because I was doing that. Huh. That's that. Okay. How do I do that though? Is there just a success? There's no okay. Okay result. No. Okay HTTP results. Oh, it does accept that. Okay. Okay, okay. That expects it to be bad request to. Let's just make that bad request and see what happens. Now what I should be doing here, you see that works fine. And that'll work fine. What I should be doing here is trying to go through the examples and review it, but I'm not a big reader. I kind of like to play and tinker and see if I can figure these things out for myself. So I do have an appropriate sub badge for this, but this isn't a fault of the documentation necessarily. This is a fault of me really trying to apply what I've already done into this and hoping that it will fit. You know, it could be square peg round hole, right? There could be a completely different what's the word? Not paradigm. A completely different idiom. Yeah, I might not be writing this idiomatically to the API. I might be writing this to my expectations of what it should be doing, and that's going to create a challenge. Raw Dev, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Again, for anyone who has any questions, opinions, thoughts, on this stuff, it's fine. I do have a Discord, which is linked in the bottom of the Twitch stream. I need to check on panels in the YouTube stream. Oh, joy, outbreak. So let's finish this up. Let's. We've got that generally working. We've got this one to do. This looks like it might be slightly simpler. Endpoint post that parameter. You are absolutely driving me nuts. Post dot parameters. And this is going to be results. Okay, bad request. We'll come back around to the validation failures later, right? That's not the worst thing I'm going to have to deal with. Like override configure, post, verify. Do that. See, the signature's almost correct. That's the challenge there. But this should be execute async. Although, hold on. That one was handle, wasn't it? It actually took it. So that signature does work. Hi, can you explain the project you're working on? Yeah, so I am working on building an agile project management tool similar to Jira, or aiming more towards Jira than I am Trello. First version will look more Trello-like, I'm sure. But I've spent several years, many years, working in different project environments and working with different tools and seeing the pain points that developers suffer through on a daily basis. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that I want to I want to see if I can tackle the problems myself. The things that we struggle with, the things that are painful. I want to see if I can tackle some of those things, such as communication, visibility. There's too much lost time to explaining, oh, where are we with this project? Oh, who's got this thing? So I want to try and tackle some of those problems. I'm treating this as an actual product. So I'm not open sourcing the core product. I am open sourcing pieces of it. But I'm working in this in a daily basis for a couple of hours every day, and kind of sharing the journey. The tools I'm using, decisions on swapping out tools. Like today, I am swapping out my API endpoints layer to try and use what is seemingly a more widely accepted tool. So today is just literally trying to refactor this. Earlier on in the stream, we did a little bit of unit testing. So again, I'm trying to treat it like it would be a full product. So I am adding tests as I'm going. I'm naming things. Yeah. So, but it might seem like I'm trying to be productive, but again, it's more about the discussion around software. That's why I'm streaming it. I'm doing this off stream as well when I can. So it's not like I'm just waiting for the stream to do this. So if you have questions, you have thoughts or opinions on anything, you're more than welcome to share. I reserve the right to ignore opinions, but I'm a big believer in never stop learning, and don't close your mind to the possibilities that someone else knows something that you don't. So, it's part of my philosophy, I suppose. Bad results, not bad request. So that one actually might not be too terrible. Now I wonder what the difference now I see it. They have handle async and execute async, and I thought that execute so they have handle async where you can set the response. They have handle async where you can set the response like that. They have execute async Starting from .NET 7, minimal APIs introduce the ability for endpoints to conditionally return one of multiple results outcomes for a union type called results. The result objects are instantiated by calling static. Okay, so that's just type results. Okay, so I can change that up a little bit if I'm generalizing. Fast endpoints also supports this strategy simply by setting the response DTO type of the endpoint's generic parameters to the desired union type and overriding execute async instead of handle async. So why is that not complaining? I'm going to assume that should be execute async for the reason they specify it should when you want to use that method. I don't like this. I think I get why, but so you can return different types, but that's going to be challenging to read. Yeah. So, all my videos do go. I do stream to YouTube at the same time, so any past videos, any past content is available up there as well. The link is in the panels below Twitch. Banks, thank you very much for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome. Last Friday, actually, we did a coding challenge, which was a lot of fun. So I wrote a Memcache implementation based upon a coding challenge, and got quite swept up in that one. I had the day off work, so it was a good time to do that sort of stuff. And yeah, so I do lots of other different things on the stream. I was saying it earlier on. Hi Kishan, how are you doing? On the weekend, I probably will do a stream around bot dev. I have been working on a bot framework, which is in my GitHub repository, which you're more than welcome to help yourself to. I've been putting in webhook stuff this week, hooking in Twitch webhooks, put the API endpoint in so I can request it, and then subscribe to different endpoints, and I've been going through and doing that. So other projects I work on the stream. I don't tend to do too much of that dev though. Bot dev is kind of, it can be a little bit too involved and kind of messy and random. So I tend to not do that too much on actual stream. Okay, so unfortunately I am out of time for my day today. I do have a full-time job, and I do have to get onto that one. I'm good, Keishan. How are you doing? I have bots running on Raspberry Pis, .NET, C#. They just keep running. Unfortunately, I don't get as much time as I would like to stream, especially during the week. But you know, I do stream 719 Eastern time, Monday to Friday. That's my schedule right now. Again, all my past content is up on YouTube. For the past couple of weeks, I've been streaming solidly to YouTube as well, and all the past content is there. I will work on things like we did some Couchbase stuff. We swapped out Couchbase for right now temporarily. So using document DBs, been using Raven. Not Raven. I'm not using Raven. I'm not using a heavily paid for NoSQL DB. Kafka. Been using API gateways in this project. So the aim is to start building this, and I've been looking at Aspire, which is the distributed stuff. If I can figure out how to make a version of that work for me, deployment of this application will be coming in the next several months, because I need to verify those pieces work as well. So there is lots of different pieces to this project. There's lots of different things. Again, the core application here is not open source, but things like the Kafka components. Right now, I'm actually not using my own library, but I did break off these Kafka components into their own library and did some sample code. So there is examples there on the GitHub repositories of how to use the Kafka extension stuff. And I did create a video on YouTube for that one, demonstrating using it. So, lots of different things, jumping around a little bit, but I'm trying to demonstrate what real application development is for me. The chaos, the wins, the failures, all there. But yeah, unfortunately, I do have to finish up because as much as I would love to say that Twitch pays the bills, I am a few thousand subs shy of that happening. So, yeah, feel free to join the Discord if you would like. The link is below in the Twitch stream. I need to figure out panels. And yeah, we'll raid over to someone. If anyone's got any suggestions, I'm more than happy to accept a suggestion. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for joining us. Thank you again, Xe, if you're still around for the raid. I really do appreciate that. Oh, that would be cheap. For raiding into smaller streamers. Might have to get some Raspberry Pi set up, Rambling Geek, because I do not want to keep running bots on the actual dev machines. Wow, I don't have any dev streamers that I really know very much about, other than one we rated yesterday. I'd like to keep it fresh and go visit new people. Brooke Zerka. I thought Brooke Zerka was in my follows. TJ. I haven't seen TJ before. TJ. Yeah. Well, let's go. Let's go raid someone. Keep it fresh. Doing C development, but it's nice to pass it forward. See new people. That's what the benefits of raiding is. You get to meet new people, and people pay it forward, hopefully. So let's go over there. We'll say hi. I have to go walk dogs, so if you're going in and chatting, please apologize for me, but I do not have. I cannot just say hi straight away. So thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. Thank you for the follows. I will be back again tomorrow at 7 a.m. and we'll get more of this done. And yeah, thank you.